Dubai punde tu baada ya kuingia nchini ilitibuka. Mwanahabari wetu Shadrack Miti anafuatilia taarifa hiyo na yuko mahakamani.
Maybe the first interest party may go first. All right, I don't know.
Shall I just go?
Okay.
Make it brief, you know, I've been writing this morning.
This is the problem the respondents are putting you through. Lord, I join fully with the submissions of my colleagues for the petitioner, but wish to add a couple of points. The first, which is kind of factual, I watched the 1 o'clock news and the pass-out parade of the GSU had ended. That notwithstanding, they were served yesterday, as Mr. Mutinda confirmed, so that they ought to have known that priority shifted from the pass-out parade to court. So that they chose to go to the pass-out parade and not come to court is further demonstration of the low esteem and high contempt with which they hold you. And not just you, the court, but the people of Kenya and the Constitution. If you may refer, my Lord, to Article 244 of the Constitution, in terms of the functions of the National Police Service, one particular one, sub-article C, says they are required, the National Police Service shall comply with constitutional standards of human rights and fundamental freedoms. These court orders, the multitude of court orders that have been made in the hope that they would secure the liberty and freedom of Miguna Miguna. And therefore, it is in active disobedience to the Constitution that the persons have disregarded those court orders. Article 159, sub-article 2B, requires that as you exercise judicial authority, courts shall be guided by the principle of justice shall be done to all, irrespective of status. To Miguna, justice should be done to him irrespective of his status. Government must also comply, the respondents must comply with these court orders and do justice irrespective of their status. It is not a choice they have to negotiate, and that's what the Court of Appeal said. And justice shall not be delayed. We have seen, my Lord, that there have been, at every turn, delaying the obedience and compliance with the court order. And actually, they have been showing that they are not willing nor ready to comply. What effectively their refusal to comply means to the common man, that little man in the market, is that court orders don't matter, or that if you are well connected with people in government, you are safe, you can also ignore courts. They are effectively eroding the authority of the court. I only wish if it could have been possible to hand higher penalties. Unfortunately, the framers of this statute, the Contempt of Court Act, may have been motivated to propose low sentences, partly because they knew that the greatest culprits of disobedience are people in government. I therefore urge your Lordship to impose the highest possible sentence, that is the 6 months in prison, and or in addition to the cash payments, fines paid from personal sources, which should not even, they shouldn't conduct arambis from their friends. That's all.
Well, may I say that... oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Lordship, I wish to address very few remarks about the contempt of court. Your Lordship, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights is chiefly mandated by the Constitution of Kenya, essentially to help the government to mainstream human rights in its operations. Your Lordship, the court addressed a specific order to the Commission to be present on the arrival of the petitioner and to ensure that his human rights were not violated. Your Lordship, I think that those that were at the airport and those that were listening or watching from the breadth and width of this country do not have to be told that apart from the indignity of being banished from his home, the petitioner was also subjected to the indignity of being literally violently assaulted, in the sense that he was against his will hustled into an aircraft and he had to protest by sheer will and determination. Your Lordship, it is also not doubted that he continues to be held with indignity at the airport and Your Lordship will draw your attention to the fact that the experiences of the petitioner that are exceedingly well documented are the experience of a Kenyan child, a Kenyan teenager, a Kenyan student in schools, including a school right in the hinterland of Murang'a, a Kenyan university student in the University of Nairobi. So all those experiences are the experiences that he shared with the vegetation of Kenya, with every Kenyan instinct. Therefore, to be banished from that experience is indeed an indignity that should be frowned upon. Your Lordship, we are very, very alarmed by the fact that of the myriad of orders that the court issued in this case, not a single one was obeyed. Yet, we know that every state officer, every organization, every state institution is obliged, not requested, obliged to fulfill the Bill of Rights and to defend the Constitution. And they have all sworn solemn oath to do that. Your Lordship, this contempt is a very worrying phenomenon. And in addition to being punished, we submit that those who flee from the spirit of the Constitution should be declared, all of them, unfit to hold office because they violate Chapter 6 of the Constitution on leadership and integrity. And Your Lordship, I submit to this court that I think that might be one of the articles of the Constitution that we have enforced very badly since the Constitution was promulgated. They have brought very many government institutions into disrepute. The offices of the immigration officer, the national police, and others, and ought therefore to be declared unfit to hold office, all the respondents, and ought to be ousted from their offices by virtue of the Constitution, so that we do not come to the day when they are emboldened to know that the impunity with which they act is incapable of being punished, and that all they need to do is wield the club of those who want them to do what they want them to do. Please, Your Lordship, there is a very poignant adage that one hears when it comes to impunity. Those that perpetrate acts of impunity faced by the threat of punishment simply say in shame, "Utadu, what will you do? I have done what I wanted to do. You can do nothing." And that is the culture of our country. Your Lordship, it is time for the court to stamp its authority on its orders, so that nobody feels that they are going to act in vain by going to court. That will be the day on which this society dies. Your Lordship, I entreat the court to find that all the respondents have committed grave violations of the Constitution, which renders them completely unfit to hold even the door of an office. Your Lordship, and I urge this court to make it abundantly clear that the lawbreakers do not have the best example in their government. Your Lordship, that is all I have to say. Thank you.
My Lord, we sincerely thank Mr. Kamau of Kenya Human Rights Commission, very sincerely. Those were very able submissions. My Lord, I would like only to say one small thing. My learned friends, and particularly Julie Soweto, brought out one point which I would like you to capture I would respectfully ask you to capture in your ruling. That is that those who are subordinates to the respondents cannot continue to advance the argument that we are obeying superior orders. Once they have come to learn that what is happening is unlawful, they must then make sure that they comply with the court orders. My Lord, I would respectfully refer you to the ICC law, which your Lordship is very familiar with, that under the ICC law, it is not a defense for a subordinate to allege that he was obeying superior orders. That would not assist you. And I would respectfully urge you that, my Lord, that in your ruling, you capture that, so that the subordinates will continue saying that I'm only obeying what my bosses have told me. They should be able to be made to know that they are still accountable to the law, and they will be punished accordingly by the law. Thank you. Okay. Another small point, my Lord. If you would be kind enough to repeat in your ruling that Miguna and Miguna must continue to remain in Kenya and must not be whisked away to Kisumu Ndogo in Dubai. They should be brought to court. Of course, they can always purge the contempt by bringing them to court anytime, even tomorrow. They can do so.
Release.